1:07. Checking with moderator if everybody is back. So I'll be taking a roll call. And I am sorry, moderator, just a heads up, I will be moving on to agenda item 11 under consideration of site-specific waiver due to the time constraints for one of the potential speakers. So we're going to move up a little bit, and then we're going to come back to Legislation and Regulation Committee.
Okay,
so
sounds good.
Forward the slide to the agenda item 11 under the consideration of site-specific waiver. We would really appreciate it. And members, I will be taking a roll call. Maria Serpa.
I'm here, sorry.
Thank you, Maria. Maria is here. Jig Patel. Thank you, Jig. Jig is here. Cheryl Butler. Cheryl?
I'm here.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl's here. Jose de la Paz.
Present.
Thank you, Jose. Jose is here. Shirley Kim, if you return. Shirley has not returned. Ricardo Sanchez. Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo is here. Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole is present. Debbie Veal. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie is here. Jason Wise. Jason?
I see Jason might have fallen off the call. I will re-promote him, and I've re-promoted Shirley Kim as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Shirley and Jason, if you're here.
Yeah.
Shirley is here. Thank you, Shirley. Jason?
Hi, this is Jason. Yes, I am here, and you really cannot hear responses from committee members when they vote yes or no.
That is very interesting. I'm hearing this from numerous people. Moderator, are we having some connection problems potentially?
If it's a connection problem, we've actually been noting some issues with volume levels fluctuating within WebEx for the last couple of days. I have sent a help desk ticket through on that. My best recommendation is to make sure that we're talking loudly and close to our microphones so that we can make sure that it gets through.
Okay, and as I hear the answer, I will repeat the answer and to confirm. And if I am confirming the wrong answer, please stop me, but I will also confirm the vote so that everybody can hear their votes. And please stop me if the vote is not correct or not heard. And thank you everybody for joining back. As I said, we are going up ahead to the agenda item 11, discussion and consideration of requests to waive pharmacy law provisions consistent with the authority of Business and Professions Code section 4062. We're specifically going to talk about consideration of site-specific waiver for University of California student health pharmacies. Members, so we have one site-specific waiver for consideration today, as included in the meeting materials for UC Regents are requesting an extension of the waiver granted by the President for several of its locations. The current waiver and recent requests are included in the meeting materials. Members, Dr. Brad Buckman from UC Health is available if we have any questions. I believe extension is appropriate. I would recommend that we extend through October 31, 2021. This will allow the board to reconsider during its October meeting if further extension is appropriate. I would appreciate member comments and would entertain a motion should members believe an extension is appropriate. Members, please open your line before speaking.
I move for acceptance of the extension of the waiver.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ricardo, for seconds. With a motion and second on the floor, members, any other comments?
I apologize for the interruption. This is Anne. I'd like to confirm the motion is to extend until October 31st.
in the motion. Thank you.
And Ricardo, would you mind confirming that is your second as well?
Yes, that is.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Ricardo. Any other member comments? Hearing none, I will open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
Open the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing no requests for comments, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. We are ready for a vote. We're going to start with Jig Patel. Jig, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes. Cheryl Butler? Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim? Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez? Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Veal?
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. Jason Wise? Thank you, Jason. Jason votes yes. And Maria Serpa?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. And I vote yes, so the motion passes. Thank you, everyone. And we're going back to the Legislation and Regulation Committee. Let me just go back here. Sorry for moving around, just for the time constraints. We have to accommodate some changes. All right, so agenda item 8, Legislation and Regulation Committee. As the chairperson for this committee, I will be providing the report. As the committee did not meet this quarter where action is necessary, I will request a motion and second from members. We're going to start with the first item, discussion and consideration of Title 16 California Code of Regulations, Section 1746.4, Pharmacists Initiating and Administering Vaccines. As included in the meeting materials, pharmacy law establishes the authority for pharmacists to initiate and administer vaccines as specified. Further, the board regulations specify the conditions under which a pharmacist may provide a vaccine, including a notification requirement to each patient's primary care provider. The notification to the provider is in addition to the mandatory reporting of the vaccine administration to the California's Vaccine Immunization Registry. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, pharmacists and pharmacies have served as a primary access point for patients to receive COVID-19 vaccines. This was in part possible because the board approved a waiver to the mandatory notification requirement to each patient's primary care physician. As the board's waiver authority is limited to the public health declaration, today members will have the opportunity to determine if the provisions of waiver should be made permanent. To assist in our discussion, the meeting materials include some policy questions. First, for our consideration, as the statute requires compliance with federal record-keeping and reporting requirements, including reporting vaccinations to the state's immunization registry, is mandatory notification to a primary care physician also necessary? I personally don't believe such notification should be mandatory. However, I would welcome member comments on this larger policy question. Members, any comments on this question? I will take that as you all are agreeing. So we're moving on to the next question. So if you all believe that notification should not be mandatory, is it appropriate to consider amending the regulation package to only require notification to the primary care physician if such notification is requested by the patient? Members, any comments? Okay, as reporting requirements are established in the statute, is it appropriate to remove the duplication of requirements in the regulation language? Members, any comments? Okay, and members, are there any other changes to the regulation language that you believe are appropriate? Okay, hearing none. Staff have provided language that could be used to change the reporting requirements to specify that the reporting to the primary care physician must be done if requested by the patient, as well as to address the non-substantive change offered by counsel. The language provided in attachment 2 in the Legislation Regulation Committee meeting material. Members, I would entertain a motion to recommend to the board initiation of a rulemaking to amend CCR section 1746.4 as noted in the meeting materials. I would appreciate a motion and second from members. Members?
This is Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie,
Yes.
any second?
This is Cheryl. I'd like the second.
Thank you, Cheryl, for the second. Debbie motions, Cheryl seconds. Any other member comments? Hearing none, we're going to open up for public comment. Moderator, please open the line for public comment.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If anyone would like to comment on this item, you may click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. With a motion and second and public comment, hold on one second.
I apologize for the interruption. I would just like to confirm that as part of the motion, it's to initiate the rulemaking as provided in the meeting materials and to delegate to the executive officer and council the authority to make any non-substantive changes that are identified through the pre-review process and release it for the public comment period.
And that was
Debbie,
exactly what I was thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Cheryl, are you agreeable to second?
Yes, I'm thinking the same thing. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Thank you for the clarification. We're going to go for the roll call, starting with Cheryl Butler.
Yes.
Thank you. Cheryl votes yes. Jose de la Paz.
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim. Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez. Thank you, Ricardo. Appreciate your vote. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole Thibault. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Veal.
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Jason Y.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Maria Serpa. Thank you, Maria. And finally, Jig Patel.
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. And I vote yes, the motion passes. We're moving on to the discussion and consideration of pending legislation impacting the practice of pharmacy, the board's jurisdiction, or board operations. Members, included in the meeting materials are several measures for our consideration. Links to the measures and committee analysis are provided, as is a summary of the measure, the board's position on the measure, if applicable, and staff comments. We're going to start with Assembly Bill 107, Licensure, Veterans, and Military Spouses. Members, AB 107 would expand the requirement to issue temporary licenses to practice a profession or vocation to include licenses issued by any board with the Department of Consumer Affairs, except as provided. Since our last discussion, the measure was amended to require an applicant to pass a California law and ethics examination if required by the board as a condition of issuing the temporary license. As you may recall, the board had established an oppose unless amended position because the board was concerned it would not have the ability to assess for minimum competency before issuing the temporary license. The amendments to the measure address the board's concerns. I agree with the staff recommendation that we move to a neutral position on the bill. Members, I would appreciate hearing your thoughts on the measure and would entertain a motion to change the board's position if you believe such action is appropriate. Members, any comments and motion?
This is Maria. I'll make the motion to change our position to neutral.
Thank you, Maria. Any seconds?
Oh, I'll second.
Oh, that's fine, Nicole. You do
Thank you,
it.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Nicole. Seconds. Any other member comments? Okay, hearing none, with a motion and second on the floor, I'll now open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. I've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this legislative item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text box, and submit that to our panelists.
I think we can close, moderator.
Will do.
Thank you so much. With a motion and second and public comment received, I will now take a roll call vote, starting with Jose de la Paz. Thank you. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim?
Yes.
Shirley, thank you. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez? Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole Thibault?
I
Nicole?
vote yes.
How do you vote? Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Veal? Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. Jason Wise?
To avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, I will abstain in this item through item number 11. Thank you, Song.
Okay, got it. Got it, Jason. I will still call your name, and if you could just say abstain, I would appreciate it. Maria Serpa?
Yes.
Thank you. Maria votes yes. Jig Patel?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes. Cheryl Butler? Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes, and I vote yes. The motion passes. Thank you, members. Moving on to Assembly Bill 527, Controlled Substances. Members, this measure includes board-sponsored language related to the descheduling of some non-narcotic combination products to align with federal law. The board has a support position on the measure. The measure passed out of the Senate Public Safety Committee and will be considered by the Senate Appropriations Committee on August 16, 2021. Members, do you have any comments or questions on AB 527? Hearing none, moderator, please open the line as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen.
Moderator, I think we lost you.
My apologies. I didn't think you wanted to hear my dogs barking. Click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. Not seeing any requests. Would you like me to close?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. Moving on to Assembly Bill 1064, FONG, Pharmacy Practice, Vaccines Independent Initiation. Members, AB 1064 would authorize a pharmacist to independently initiate and administer any vaccine approved or authorized by the United States Food and Drug Administration for persons 3 years of age and older. The board established a support position on this measure during its April meeting. The measure passed out of the Senate Business Professions and Economic Development Committee and will be considered by the Senate Appropriations Committee on August 16, 2021. Members, do you have any comments on the measure? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this bill, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to all panelists.
Not seeing anything, moderator. If you could please, thank you. Thank you, moderator. Moving on to Assembly Bill 1328, Irwin, Clinical Laboratory Technology and Pharmacists. Members, AB 1328 would expand authority for pharmacists to perform CLIA waive tests, either approved or authorized by the FDA upon patient request or hospital authorization, provided that there is a valid and respective CLIA certificate of waiver and laboratory license, with some exceptions. The exceptions would include CLIA waive tests that are used for surgery, diagnosis, or treatment of heart failure, fertility, or ovulation prediction. Further, it would require pharmacists to notify the patient's primary care provider or other appropriate physician and surgeon of test results if consent is provided. In the event the patient refuses consent or does not have a primary care provider, the pharmacist shall provide the patient a list of physicians, clinics, or other healthcare service providers to contact for ongoing patient care. The measure specifies that a patient performing on-site specimen collection shall be provided space that provides for privacy during the specimen collection, testing process, and consultation with a pharmacist. Further, the measure would amend pharmacy law to declare that pharmacy practice is a patient and public health-oriented health service that is continually evolving to include more sophisticated and comprehensive patient care and public health activities. The measure will be considered by the Senate Appropriations Committee on August 16, 2021. The board established a support position on the measure. Members, do you have any comments on the measure? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. I've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this legislative bill, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. Moving to Assembly Bill 1533, Pharmacy. It is our sunset bill. AB 1533 would extend the operations of the board until January 1, 2026 and make several other changes detailed in the meeting materials. This measure passed out of the Senate Business, Professions, and Economic Development Committee and will be heard by the Senate Appropriations Committee during its August 16, 2021 hearing. The board currently has a support position on this measure. Members, do you have any comments on this legislation? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 306 PAN, Sexually Transmitted Disease Testing. As indicated in the meeting materials, SB 306 would allow a pharmacist to dispense a drug prescribed pursuant to EPT provisions without an individual name if the prescription includes either expedited partner therapy or EPT. Further, the section provides that a pharmacist would not be liable in and not subject to a civil, criminal, or administrative action if the use of EPT was done in compliance with the law, unless otherwise specified. During our April meeting, the board established a support if amended position. The author accepted the board's amendments to ensure a pharmacist provides a written notice that describes the right of an individual receiving EPT to consult with a pharmacist about the therapy and potential drug interactions. With the acceptance of amendments, I approve the change to a support position. I would welcome member comments on the change and your consideration of a motion to ratify the change. Members, any comments? And if you could make a motion, we would appreciate it.
I move that we ratify the position to support.
I second that.
Do we need to add in that other language about, changes and all that stuff? And I'm talking about the language that you sometimes have us add.
Tory changes, I don't believe it's necessary.
President O, I think you're on mute.
Oh. Thank you, Jake. Sorry. With a motion and second on the floor, I'll now open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this one, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Our first comment comes from Danny Martinez. Danny, you may open your line.
Martinez with the California Pharmacists Association. We support this move for full support. We think this is a great bill, and we urge your consideration of full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
And seeing no additional requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. With a motion and second and public comment received, I will now take a roll call vote. We're going to start with Shirley Kim. Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole Thibault. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Veal.
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. Jason Wise. Oh, abstain, Jason? Yeah.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Sorry, I'm just going to keep asking, but I got it. Okay. Maria Serpa?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Maria votes yes. Jake Patel?
Yes.
Thank you, Jake. Jake votes yes. Cheryl Butler? Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. And finally, Jose?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. The motion, and I'll vote yes. The motion passes. Moving to Senate Bill 310, Rubio, unused medications, cancer medication recycling. Members, this measure has not previously been considered by the board, as it previously established the provisions under the jurisdiction of the Medical Board of California. As amended in late June, the measure will create a cancer medication collection and distribution program, including a registry of participating practitioners. Under the provisions of the bill, a surplus medication and collection distribution intermediary licensed by the board would be authorized to issue or renew registration to participating practitioners. With this registration, practitioners would be authorized to establish programs to recycle unused cancer medications. Under the provisions of the measure, patients can donate previously dispensed medications back to a participating practitioner for redistribution to other patients. Working with staff, I approved an oppose unless amended position. This meeting materials detail out several of the technical and policy concerns with the measures. Communication to the author's office detailed out the amendments requested, which are also detailed in the meeting materials. The measure was considered in the Assembly Health Committee on July 13. It is our understanding the author accepted the amendments. However, the amendments are not yet in print. I would welcome member comments on the measure and the position established. I would also appreciate your consideration of a motion to ratify the position of oppose unless amended. Members?
Song, I'm happy to make the motion oppose unless amended. This is Debbie.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Thank you for the motion. Any seconds?
This is Cheryl, a second.
I think I heard Cheryl and Ricardo.
It was me, Jig, but we can.
Oh, hi, Jake.
Sure.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Jake, for the second. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. Debbie first motions and Jake second. Any other member comments? Hearing none, with a motion and the second on the floor, I'll now open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this bill, please click on the Q&A icon on the screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. With a motion and second and public comment received, I will now take a roll call vote. We're going to start with Ricardo Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole?
I'm sorry, can you restate what the motion is?
Sure. The motion is to change the board's position to oppose unless amended on legislation SB 310.
Got it. I just wanted to make sure I understood. My vote is yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Beal?
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. And Jason? Jason will abstain, but
Abstain, Mr. President.
thank you, Jason. And Maria Serpa?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Jig Patel?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes. Cheryl Butler? Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. And Shirley Kim? Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes, and I vote yes as well. The motion passes. All right, moving on to SB 362, Newman, Community Pharmacies Quota. Members, as indicated in the meeting materials, SB 362 would prohibit a community pharmacy from establishing a quota defined as a fixed number of formula related to the duties for which a pharmacist or pharmacy technician licensee is required to complete, or against which the community pharmacy or its agent measures or evaluates the pharmacist or pharmacy technician's performance of those duties in the community pharmacy. Since our last discussion, the measure has been amended and no longer includes the penalties. As you may recall, the board established a support if amended position because of concerns with the penalties portion of the measure that would have required an automatic suspension of licensees. Subsequent to the amendment that removed the provisions, President Lippy approved a change to a support position. Members, I welcome your thoughts. I would also entertain a motion to ratify the change in position as authorized by President Lippy prior to end of his term. Members, anyone willing to make a motion?
Hi, this is Nicole. I actually wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I definitely agree with the concept of not having these quotas, that they cause harm. However, I did want to also bring up, I've actually seen data that if there is too little being done in a pharmacy, like if it's too slow, that can also contribute to errors. So I'm slightly a little bit concerned with this. I've seen some states do a version of this wherein they say, cannot exceed, the quotas can exist, but they cannot exceed so many per hour or per day or something like that. And there is some data that something like that is actually a little bit safer than forbidding quotas entirely. I don't know if this had come up before, but just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Nicole. That's a great comment. I appreciate it. Any other member comments?
I have a problem with quotas, period.
Thank you, Cheryl. Anyone willing to make a motion to ratify what President Lippy changed the position to support position?
This is Maria. I move that we ratify the support position.
Thank you, Maria. Any second?
I'll second. This is Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it. And with a motion and second and public comments received, I will now take a roll call vote. Members, as a reminder, please open your line before voting. We're going to start with Nicole. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to open the public comment first. I apologize, everyone. With a motion and second, and I'll open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the line as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this motion for this legislative item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text box, and submit that to our panelists. Our first comment comes from Danny Martinez. Danny, you may open your line.
Danny Martinez for the California Pharmacists Association. So we are the sponsors of SB 362. To Board Member Thibault's concern or question regarding the quotas. So the latest set of amendments actually further define what is not defined as a quota, and it addresses really some of the more performance metrics that you needed to use to evaluate employees, that any business would have to have. We tried to clarify that in the bill, and so we put in those amendments. We also, with those amendments, removed the opposition from the National Association of Chain Drugstores and the retailers. So we think that we ended up, I guess, getting to a happy medium is what I was trying to say with that. So we hope that will be taken into account when voting on whether to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
And seeing no additional requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you for the comments.
I appreciate
So
that.
with a motion and second and public comment received, I will now take a roll call vote. Members, as a reminder, please open your line before voting. We're going to start with Debbie Veal.
Yes.
Debbie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. Jason?
Abstain.
Thank you, Jason. Maria Serpa? Thank you, Maria. Maria votes yes. Jig Patel?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes. Cheryl Butler?
Yes, based on the comment, I do appreciate that, so my vote is yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose de la Paz? Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim? Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez?
I vote yes.
Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole? Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. The motion passes, and I vote yes as well. Moving on to Senate Bill 409, Caballero, Pharmacy Practice, SARS-CoV-2, and Influenza Testing. Members, SB 409 is a board-sponsored measure that would authorize pharmacists and pharmacies to provide CLIA-waived tests as specified. As you may recall, the measure initially was limited to authority for pharmacists to perform CLIA-waived COVID-19 and influenza testing. However, during the April board meeting, the board voted to expand the provisions. Detailed in the chair report are provisions of the measure as amended. The measure enjoys support, including from the Pharmacists Association and the California Medical Association. Members, I welcome your thoughts. Any comments? Hearing none, I will open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text box, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. Moving on to Senate Bill 524, Skinner, Healthcare Coverage, Patient Steering. Members, Senate Bill 524 would prohibit patient steering, which is also defined in the measure. During the April meeting, the board established a support position on the measure. And members, do you have any comments? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this bill, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 731, Durazo Criminal Records Relief. Members, the last measure for our consideration today is SB 731, which expands the conditions for relief for arrest and convictions. During the April meeting, the board established an opposed unless amended position because of concerns that the board would lack access to full information necessary to evaluate an individual's background prior to making a licensing decision. Regrettably, the board's concerns have not been addressed. Members, I welcome your comments. Anyone want to make any comments? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is a moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this last legislative item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. First comment comes from Sandra Gukian. Sandra, you may open your mic. And Sandra, you can do so by clicking unmute me on the pop-up window. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Thank you. This is Sandra Gukian with the National Association of Chain Drugstores. There was a comment made earlier regarding Senate Bill 362 that had indicated that NACDS had removed its opposition from the bill. We have not formally done so, so I just wanted to correct that for the record. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no additional requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Thank you, moderator. Okay, so moving on. Members, before we move to the regulations portion of the report, I want to quickly draw your attention to the meeting materials that highlight some of the measures previously considered by the board that are either not moving this year or the measure is no longer applicable to the board. This information is provided for information only. So with moving on to regulations report, as detailed in the meeting materials and associated attachments, the board has a number of regulations in various stages of promulgation. I do not intend to review each as the information is contained in the public materials. Members, do you have any questions or comments on any of the regulations included? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines for public comment on any of the regulation items listed.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on the regulation items listed in today's agenda, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists.
I don't see anyone. If you could close, moderator, please.
Will do.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving on to now agenda item 9, licensing committee report. I will now turn the meeting over to Debbie Veal, chairperson of the licensing committee, to provide a report on behalf of the committee. Debbie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Song. Okay, the licensing committee. First off, I want to introduce the committee. It's myself as chairperson. Song is the vice chair. Lavanza or Cheryl Butler, Jignesh or Jig Patel, and Jason Weiss are the other members of the committee. So the committee met on, gosh, well, I think it was like July 15th or 14th. I can't remember, but the first couple items were discussion, consideration of pharmacy technician duties and possible changes. The second item was discussion, consideration of pharmacist to pharmacy technician ratios in a community and sterile compound setting. And then the third item was, I'm going to just start with those two, because what we came to conclusion of is that we had had quite a few stakeholder meetings in the past, but that there had been a time period where we haven't had any stakeholder meetings, and that it was probably appropriate for us to consider having a stakeholder meeting again to just go over the difference in what the technicians will do in the hospital setting, in the community setting, and then also potentially with ratios. So specific to the agenda, the first agenda item around technician duties and possible changes, for the most part, everyone, the board members and really all the stakeholders spoke in support of having a pharmacy technician summit so we could discuss it in broader, have a broader discussion. There were some public concerns with the possibility of expanding duties, while other people thought that there should be expansion of duties. So I think it's going to be a very robust summit. And we did also have some folks think that we need to actually even look at what the definition of a pharmacy technician is, because there was a lot of variety across the country. So the idea that we embraced was that we wanted to have a summit, and it was felt that the summit should be once we can meet in person, and in multiple locations. So because it felt like the stakeholders felt like we needed to hear from not just the usual folks who come to our meetings, no offense to the stakeholders that usually come, but really to all the technicians that might be able to come. There was actually suggestions that we even look at the time of our summit and perhaps not, make it even in the evening. So we're going to have to, really kind of figure that out. But the committee definitely was supportive of this idea. And I'm going to leave that motion up because I'm going to kind of just talk for a minute about the ratio, because that kind of went into the summit also. Because we touched on the ratio, and in the meeting materials, you see a number of other states have looked at ratio recently and made changes on the ratio of pharmacists to technicians. But, once again, the members of the committee felt like ratios would be appropriate topic also for the summit. And that we need to possibly also look at, there could be different ratios depending on the practice setting of the pharmacy. Specifically was brought up sterile compounding versus community. Once again, it was expressed a meeting in person and in multiple locations. So anyway, after those two agenda items, the committee put together the motion that you now see on the screen. And so I do not need a second, because it was the committee to schedule a summit to discuss pharmacy technician duties, as well as the pharmacist to pharmacy technician ratio. Summit to be scheduled at such as time will allow for an in-person participation, and delegate to the committee chair and the executive officer the authority to develop the exact meeting parameters. So I do want to add one little piece here. As you will see, it says, to be scheduled at such a time that it will allow for in-person participation. So there was discussion both from the committee and from the stakeholders that it was very important that we delay this until we can be in person. The stakeholders and the committee members felt like, yes, these are topics that need to be addressed, but doing it in person was very important, as well as, once again, as I mentioned before, at least North and South California, and looking also at the timing. So with that, so that kind of covers agenda items A and B. I will now look to the committee to see if there's anything else the committee members want to add to my summary of those very large topics. Not hearing any, I would like to open up to the board members, because we're happy to discuss anything that we went over during our meeting, since you guys did not have the opportunity to be part of the discussion. Are there any questions or thoughts?
I just wanted to commend you and commend the committee for the concept of creating a summit. I think this will be a wonderful opportunity for all the stakeholders to participate and potentially have quite a bit of input on the future practice of pharmacy.
Thank you, Maria. We actually thought about your white bagging and even the compounding. So we're kind of fast. We're copying what your committee has done, but because we thought that it seemed like it had been effective. And we do want to, we have to figure out, the executive officer and myself will need to figure out, because we do want technicians to speak. We hear from stakeholders a lot, so we are hoping to encourage technician participation in these meetings. Is there any other board member comments or questions or thoughts?
I thought you did a great job explaining how what the conclusion of our meeting was.
Thanks, Cheryl. It was, what, a couple hours of 2 or 3 hours, and we came down to this one motion. So appreciate your participation in that too.
Thank you.
Ms. Moderator, since I think all the board members have spoken, could we open it up for question and answer from the public?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item and the motion before you, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Our first comment comes from Danny Martinez. Danny, you may open your line.
With the California Pharmacists Association. We want to thank Board Member Veal, Chair Veal, for her work on this. As I mentioned during the committee, this is an extremely tough subject to grapple with and to deal with. So we commend you, Chair Veal, for working through this. As one of these stakeholders that constantly comes to these meetings, we will be sure to invite our technician members to this summit. We will be promoting this once it's scheduled through our CPHA communications, and we will encourage all of our technician members to attend and provide feedback for at the summit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danny.
And not seeing any other requests. Would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please, Ms. Moderator. Okay, I'm going to move on to discussion item C, which was
Debbie. Sorry, Debbie. I'm gonna roll call for votes for
committee
recommendation.
Yes, sorry. I'm just blazing ahead here, so I'm sorry about that.
I know. All right. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, committee members. And we're gonna, with the motion and the public comment, we're gonna take a roll call vote for the committee recommendation, and we're gonna start with you, Debbie.
I vote yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. Jason? Jason?
Sorry, difficulties with my button here. Yes, I vote yes.
No worries. Thank you, Jason. Maria? Thank you, Maria. Jake?
Yes.
Thank you, Jake. Jake votes yes. Cheryl?
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo? Thank you, Ricardo. And Nicole?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes, and I vote yes as well. Motion passes. Back to you, Debbie.
Okay, I'm now moving on to agenda item C, discussion consideration of the board's legislative proposal to establish a new licensing program, creating an advanced practice pharmacy technician requirement and function. So this is another item. We haven't been working on quite as long as the technician one, but still has been part of the committee discussion. And we've gotten quite far, even to the point that we had, quite a few recommendations from our prior board meetings, as you can read in the committee material. However, as we got talking about advanced practice technician, there was a concern that with our summit about pharmacy technicians and ratios, that this was really part of the larger discussion around the technicians, and that we should table the advanced practice program at this point in time and just see what happens through the summit. Some of the members, I think both from the committee and the public, thought that some of the duties that we actually had talked about being part of the advanced practice technician, maybe those need to be just technician duties. There was also some comments that suggested having two different types of technicians could divide the pharmacy technician profession and in potentially a negative way. There's also discussions, just around, how it would work. So, leading down to, and there was definitely people who were supportive of it. But bottom line, the committee decided that our recommendation is to just table the current proposal, advanced practice technician, until after our summit, or maybe as a result of our summit, we will come to a different conclusion. Might be tabled forever, might be come out of our summit discussion. So I don't want to, try to figure out anything more than just that. But anyway, our recommendation is that we table the current proposal, so we stop working on advanced practice technician program. And I guess you could call this song a motion, and it was agreed to by the committee. So is there any other committee members that want to speak to advanced practice technician?
Debbie, I missed the last meeting, but I agree that we should wait until summit and after, but we should put a timeline until when we should table the current proposal.
Yeah, Jig, we missed you at the meeting. We kind of feel, yes, I think out of the summit we will get some direction, because there was some discussion about, do we want to really have a two-tiered technician license? And possibly some of the things that we were going to have the advanced practice technician, maybe that just becomes part of regular technician duties. But so I think post summit we will have a clearer view.
I agree. I think that's exactly the way you explain it is exactly what we made the decision about, and I think that is the proper direction for us to take. So Cheryl.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks.
Is there any board members outside the committee that want to make a comment?
Hi, yes, this is Nicole.
April.
I'm obviously just coming into this, so I don't have a lot of information behind it, but I personally love the concept of having an advanced practice technician. I think it gives technicians something to work towards. You know, we're seeing a lot of turnover and people leaving the field right now, and I think this would help us do a little, you know, job retention of technicians long term. I understand the reasons for tabling now, but I do hope that it can be something we consider in the future.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the summit. Just of interest, if you can look at our committee material, there was a study that was shared with us, I think, anyway, shared with us about how it kind of looked at it a different way, how kind of dividing the technicians might not always be positive. So it's just, it was a different way of looking at it than I had ever thought of. So if you have a free 5 minutes and you can dig into our committee materials from our meeting in July, you might find interesting that document.
Okay.
That report.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I hadn't had a chance to look at, but I will take a look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, but I just wanted to point that out for you. Okay, Ms. Moderator, could you please open us for the Q&A for public comment?
We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Mr. President, can you call for the vote? And I'm not hearing you. Are you on mute?
Problems. He'll be right back. He's audio problems.
Okay, can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Debbie, and thank you for the summary. Okay, so with the committee recommendation and public comment received, I will now take a roll call vote. We're going to start with Jason Weiss. Jason?
I vote yes.
Thank you, Jason. Seems like technology is never perfect. Maria Serpa?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Jig Patel?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Cheryl Butler?
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose de la Paz? Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez? Thank you, Ricardo. And Nicole? Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. And Debbie Veal? Debbie votes yes, and I vote yes as well. The committee motion passes. Back to you, Debbie.
Thank you, Song. The one thing I do want to also add is, as part of the summit, we did reach out to all the stakeholders and have asked for any information or studies that they could share with us in getting ready for this summit. We would greatly appreciate it. And I believe we have started to receive some information. So we want to make sure this summit is as productive, educational, and fact-based as possible. We don't want to make decisions based on hearsay. Now moving on to agenda item D is review and discussion of the licensing statistics. And in attachment 2 is the 3-year comparison of our licensing statistics. And the data includes licensing information through June 30th, 2021. So that's the complete fiscal year. As of June 30th, you'll see the board has received 14,406 initial applications and 546 requests for temporary site licensing, as well as 8,074 individual licenses have been issued. We also issued 484 site licenses without temporary licenses, and we issued 427 temporary site licenses. One of the big focuses of our committee is also processing times, because we do hear from the public, and we know it can be frustrating, honestly, for all, not just the public and the licensees. The time that it takes to process applications. But the general application deficiency mail processing time by licensing type is also provided and is current as of July 2nd. It reflects the time when an application or a deficient response is received by the board through the time it is reviewed by the licensing staff. The standard performance time is 30 days for initial applications and 10 days for deficiency mail. And just for our new members, deficiency mail is when we receive something and it's not complete. The term current means that there is no item to review or staff is currently reviewing the item within 1 to 5 days for that specific licensing type. So the processing times are unfortunately outside the performance measures established by the board. And the licensing unit unfortunately does have vacancies that are in various stages of recruitment, as well as some unfortunate unexpected leaves. So our managers are working with the staff to prioritize the work. And it is anticipated that processing times will improve as vacancies are filled and the staff returns from their leave. So we appreciate all the efforts of the staff, and to, I think to kind of move as I stated, from area to area to make sure that we are prioritizing and not letting anything go completely unattended. So thank you for the staff for their extra efforts. Is there any comments from the board members on our statistics or processing times?
Yes, this is Cheryl. I get calls like from pharmacy techs saying that it's taken more, that they're not able to work because it's taken more than 60 days. So can I assume that that means that there's some deficiency in their application?
60 days is beyond what we have in our report. I don't know if you want to, if you would like to respond to that question.
The processing time for the initial application is separate than that of the deficiency. So, Cheryl, if they have not received something from the board, then it may still be that it has not been processed, because if we process the application and there is a deficiency, we are notifying the applicant. I would just maybe suggest that they make sure that they have not received any sort of a deficiency. But we are, we are working to redirect staff to assist in the pharmacy technician area. We had redirected staff to really handle the influx of exam applications that occurred during graduation season. So as that is starting to slow down, we're now redirecting some staff back over to help with the pharmacy technician area. So I do anticipate there being good improvement in that over the next 30 days.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from other board members on the processing times?
Hi, this is actually Nicole. I just wanted to comment that my location actually put in for a clinic license. And we had some deficiencies. We turned them in, and it's been over 3 months. And I've requested status updates several times by phone and email, and I haven't gotten any responses. I understand that people had to be pulled for the new pharmacist license, but maybe we want to look into the other types of licenses as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from board members? Ms. Moderator, can you please open it up for public comment?
We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. The last thing I'd like to just point out is our next committee meeting is October 27th. And as soon as we get information from the governor that we can meet in person, we will start figuring out dates for our summit on technicians. Mr. President, I have submitted my report.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you for all your hard work, and also for committee members as well as all the board members. We are sprinting through the meeting, so I'm going to, if it's okay with all of you, take about 15-minute break, and we will come back at 2:34. That's okay?
Thank you.
Okay, it is 2:34. We'll take a roll call. Just take a roll call to make sure everybody is back. We're going to start with Maria Serpa. Thank you, Maria is here. Jig Patel.
I'm here.
Thank you, Jig is here. Cheryl Butler.
Here.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl is here. Jose de la Paz. Jose?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Jose. Thank you. Jose is here. Shirley Kim.
Here.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley's here. Ricardo Sanchez. Ricardo? Oh, thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo's here. Nicole Thibault. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole's here. Debbie Veal.
Here.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie's here. And finally, Jason Wise. Thank you, Jason. So the quorum is present, and we are moving on to agenda item 10, Organizational Development Committee report. Members, I will now provide an update on several items under the purview of the Organizational Development Committee. First, the budget update. The board has board spending authorization for the new fiscal year is $29.6 million, which is a 1.3% increase from the prior year. Also included in the meeting materials is information on the prior year budget. Information provided is through the first 11 months of the fiscal year. It is anticipated that the final budget figures will be available for the October 2021 meeting. Further, the board estimates it had expended about $25.1 million in the first 11 months of the fiscal year, including about $15.2 million in personnel, about $3.6 million in pro rata, and almost $4.8 million in enforcement-related costs. A review of the fund condition prepared by the department indicates that at the end of the current fiscal year, it is projected the board will have 3.9 months in reserve. We will continue to closely monitor our fund as projections indicate a slow depletion of the fund. Members, any questions on the budget report? Hearing none, moderator, please open the line for public comment.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to the panelists. Seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. Second item is board member attendance and mail vote information. Member attendance is summarized in attachment 2 in the Organizational Development Committee Chair report. Members, do you have any questions on member attendance report provided in attachment 2? Hearing none, members, I also want to highlight, as included in the meeting materials, we will resume quarterly reporting of member participation in the mail vote process. Any comments from members? Hearing none, moderator, please open the line for public comment.
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. And third item is personnel update. As detailed in the meeting materials, the board has number of vacancies and also meeting calendar for 2021 and 2022. Members attachment 3 includes the meeting calendar for the remainder of 2021 and 2022. Thank you again to everyone for your continued commitment to the board. Any comments from members? Moderator, please open the line for public comment.
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on these two items, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. All right, we're moving on to agenda item 11, consideration of waivers. Members, the next item for our discussion and consideration is the waivers to provisions of pharmacy law. Included in the meeting materials are several waivers that will be expiring, including one site-specific waiver. The first waiver is pharmacists initiating and administering vaccines. Waives the requirement for pharmacists to notify each patient's primary care provider of a COVID-19 vaccine administration under specified conditions. This waiver became effective December 17, 2021, and will expire August 27, 2021, or until 30 days after the emergency declaration, whichever is sooner. Staff reports that 8% of pharmacies report using this waiver. However, the waiver may also be used outside of pharmacies. Members, I believe an extension of this waiver is necessary to ensure any potential barriers to administering the COVID-19 vaccine stays removed. I would recommend an extension of this waiver with a new expiration date to be 90 days following termination of the declared emergency, consistent with the provisions of Business and Professions Code 4062D. I would appreciate your comments. I would also entertain a motion if members believe such action is appropriate. I note that absent action today, this waiver will expire on August 27, 2021. Members, anyone would like to make a motion or any comments?
Yeah, I would move to extend it 90 days.
Thank you, Debbie. Anyone second?
This is Jason. I'll second.
Okay.
Hey, this is Eileen. I just wanted to check, Debbie, is it only for 90 days or as President O had suggested, extend it until 90 days after the declaration of emergency?
Oh, thank you, Eileen, for that clarification. And yes, 90 days after the end of the declaration emergency.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for that. And Cheryl, are you still okay second?
That was me, Jason. And I'm okay
Jason.
second.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate motion and second. And anyone else need to comment? Hearing none, with a motion and second on the floor, I'm going to open the discussion for public comment. Moderator, please open the lines as appropriate.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. I am seeing none. Would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. With a motion and second and public comment received, I will now take a roll call vote. Let's start with Maria Serpa. Thank you, Maria. Jig Patel.
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes, and Maria voted yes. Cheryl Butler.
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose. Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim.
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo. Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole.
Yes.
Votes yes. Debbie.
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. And Jason.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Jason votes yes, and I vote yes as well. The motion passes. Moving on to the next waiver item is for consideration of possible action to extend the duty to consult waiver, which waives the requirement for in-person consultation under specified conditions. The waiver became effective April 1st, 2020, and will expire August 31, 2021, or until 30 days after the emergency declaration, whichever is sooner. Staff reports that 10% of pharmacies report using this waiver. I recommend that the board consider an extension of this waiver through October 31 or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is sooner. This will allow the board to reevaluate conditions as part of its October board meeting. Members, I would appreciate your comments and also entertain a motion if members believe such action is appropriate. Members? Anyone willing to make a motion or any comments?
I would make the motion.
Thank you again, Debbie, for making the motion. Anyone second?
Second.
Thank you, Shirley, for seconding. Any other member comments?
This is Anne. I would like to just confirm that the motion is to extend the waiver through October 31st or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is soon.
Yes, Anne, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
you.
And Shirley, is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And thank you, Anne, for clarifying. Okay. So with that, I will now open the discussion for public comment. Moderator?
Hey, Song, before you do that, could I actually,
Oh, yeah.
and Shirley, you can decide if you want to help me amend this, But Irene, can we just make that motion for the next couple items, items 2, 3, 4, and 5?
That's kind of
Or do you want to
difficult
do each one on its own?
yeah, because in case the public has comments on one or the other, you may be narrowing them to 2 minutes when they may have comments on others.
I got you. Okay, thank you. As is. No changes.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I know. I like to clump it together too, but you know, it's so. All right. So ready for the moderator?
Open the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on the screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing no responses, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. All right. With a motion and second and public comment, I will now take a roll call vote. We're going to start with Jig Patel.
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes. Cheryl Butler.
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose de la Paz.
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Shirley Kim.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo. Ricardo. We'll come back to you, Ricardo. Nicole Thibault.
Sorry, I was just having some difficulty.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you. No worries, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole.
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Debbie.
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie votes yes. Jason.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Jason votes yes. And Maria.
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Maria votes yes, and I vote yes as well. The motion passes. All right, so the next item is the board's pre-licensure inspection of ads waiver waives the inspection requirements as a condition of licensure of an ad under specified conditions. This waiver became effective April 13th, 2020, and will expire August 31, 2021, or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever sooner. Staff report that 52% of ads locations require a waiver of this in-person inspection. Given the significant frequency of use, I recommend that the board consider an extension of the waiver through October 31 or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is sooner. This will allow the board to reevaluate conditions as part of its October board meeting. Members, any comments or anyone willing to make a motion?
Song, I'll make the same motion I made on the last one.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for the making motions.
Which is
anyone second? Yeah. Oh yeah, let's clarify the language. Okay.
Yeah, it's the 30 day, August 31st or 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is sooner.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Debbie. And okay, thank you, Jig. Appreciate it. And any other member comments? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the public comments. Moderator?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. And with a motion and second and public comment, I will now take a roll call vote. And we're going to start with Cheryl Butler. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes. Jose?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley Kim?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo Sanchez?
Also.
Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole Thibault?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Veal
Yes.
votes yes. Jason Wise.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Jason votes yes. Maria Serpa.
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Maria votes yes. And Jig Patel. Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes, and I vote yes as well. The motion passes. Moving on to the next item is the prescriber dispensing medications to ER patients waiver, waives the prohibition against the prescriber dispensing medications to an emergency room patient under specified conditions. The waiver became effective March 27, 2020, and will expire August 31, 2021, or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is sooner. Given this waiver does not appear to be used, I recommend that no action be taken by the board and that this waiver will expire on August 31, 2021. Members, any comments on this measure?
Yeah, Sung, if the waiver were to expire and for some reason we would need to extend it, would we be able to do so in the future? And would this cause a problem letting it expire?
I believe it will have to come to the board, but I will defer to Eileen or Anne.
Thank you for the opportunity. As I understand the question, the board president does retain his delegated authority and could consider and approve a site-specific waiver should there be a specific hospital that would still realize the benefits of this waiver.
Thank you, Anne.
Does
That
that
answers
answer your question, Jason? Okay.
That answers my question, Sung, and I would agree with your recommendation.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Any other member comments? Hearing none, moderator, please open the lines for public comment.
This is a moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please type comment into the text field after clicking on the Q&A icon and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. The last broad waiver for our consideration today is the staff ratio of pharmacists to intern pharmacists and general supervision. This waiver increases the pharmacist to intern pharmacist ratio under specified conditions related to the administration of COVID-19 vaccines. This waiver became effective December 16th, 2021, and will expire August 31, 2021, or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is sooner. As this waiver does not appear to be in use, I recommend that the board allow this waiver to expire and would appreciate member comments. Anyone have any comments or questions on this waiver?
On this,
Go ahead, Jake.
you know, with the number of cases going up and probably need of more immunizers, and including the staff being out for one reason or the other due to symptoms, I feel that we should extend that.
Thank you, Jake. Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to extend it 90 more days.
Okay, through October 31 or until 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is sooner. Does that sound good to you?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, anyone here to second for Jake?
This is Debbie. I'll second that.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for the second. Any other member comments? Hearing none. And do you have the motion clear? You got that down?
For 90 days or 30 days after the emergency declaration is lifted, whichever is.
Jake, do you want to do 30 days or 90 days after the emergency declaration?
90 days.
Okay, we'll do 90 days. Is that okay with you, Debbie?
Yes.
I apologize. Jig, would you mind restating your motion, please?
To extend the ratio of pharmacist to intern pharmacist and general supervision for immunizations, to extend that to waiver to 90 more days or 30 days after the emergency is taken off.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Jig. And you got that? Okay, perfect. All right. Any other member comments? Hearing none, moderator, please open the line for public comment.
Again, open the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon, type comment into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. And let's get to roll call. We're going to start with Jose. Thank you, Jose. Jose votes yes. Shirley?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Shirley votes yes. Ricardo? Thank you, Ricardo. Ricardo votes yes. Nicole?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole votes yes. Debbie Veal?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Jason Wise?
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Debbie and Jason vote yes. Maria Serpa?
Yep, yes.
Thank you, Maria. And Jig?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Jig votes yes. Maria votes yes. And Cheryl? Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl votes yes as well, and I vote yes as well. The motion passes. That is it for the waivers. And now we did consider the site-specific waiver earlier part of the day. We are moving on to now agenda item 12, Executive Officer Report. Members, I will now ask Anne to provide a brief report. Anne, floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I've detailed the information in the memo, so I'll keep my comments brief. But as the pandemic unfortunately continues, the board does continue to dedicate a significant amount of resources to its response to the COVID-19 health pandemic. And we are working both independently as well as in collaboration with other government agencies. We continue to use both our website, our subscriber alert system, our social media as the primary communication tools for licensees and members of the public. The board's website does continue to have a dedicated section on its homepage for COVID-19 resources. It includes information for stakeholders. It includes waiver information as well as guidance documents and other resources available for licensees. There is in addition to the Board of Pharmacy waivers, the director has also been issuing waivers under her authority granted through an executive order. And so there are some DCA waivers that do also apply to Board of Pharmacy licensees. As you may recall, early on in the pandemic, it was determined that the board's waiver authority would not extend to allowing the board to expand the scope of practice or those kinds of things. So those are the types of waivers that the director has issued that potentially impact our licensees. That information is also available on our website. In addition to the waivers, the board staff and the board has been taking significant efforts to respond to the pandemic in a lot of other ways. So you're familiar with both the broad waivers as well as the site-specific waivers. In general, the board has issued 55 licenses with an approved waiver of an in-person inspection, as well as renewed 203 licenses, again, using the site-specific waivers. We've been issuing temporary licenses where necessary to address the distribution of PPE, ventilators, and vaccinations, as well as for temporary locations for surge locations and pharmacies. To date, we've issued 31 of those. We continue operationally to respond to the very fluid nature by adjusting our operations as necessary to ensure both the safety of our staff as well as the public. Until recently, the goal was to maintain 75% of our office employees teleworking on any given day. With the governor's reopening, we do have staff that are returning to the office with greater frequency, but we are still not back to full-time in-office staff. We do envision a long-term permanent telework solution. Operationally, management staff, we've been working with office staff to complete SWOT analysis to determine what those long-term teleworking strategies will be. It's being done at the job-specific position because each job has something different. In addition, all management staff have completed 6 hours of mandated training in managing a hybrid workforce. In addition, I've detailed out a summary of the actions from the annual meeting that was held in May. Vice President Veal represented the board during that meeting, so there's information included. I won't review that. I wanted to also quickly talk about the board's business modernization activities. As you may recall, the board has legacy computer systems. To replace those computer systems, the board needs to engage in business modernization activities. So the board has started those regrettably during this last fiscal year in response to the COVID pandemic. We've had to really slow our efforts with business modernization activities, as we are hopeful that COVID-19 and the additional resources that we've redirected to respond to that, as that starts to ease up, we are hopeful that we will be able to more robustly resume our engagement with business modernization activities. I did include in the memo some of the information on where we are with respect to those processes. Once we have done the business process mapping, there are several other steps involved. The state has a very robust policy on the steps that must be taken to replace computer systems. So we are unfortunately still at the beginning, but hopeful that by 2024 we may have a new computer system. In the meantime, we do try to leverage the technology that we can and continue to use different platforms to facilitate some areas where we can. The last item on here is just an annual update on the cures data. The information reported is from the Department of Justice that houses and operates the cures system. So you'll notice that there is some overall usage information, including the number of Schedule 2 through 5 controlled substance prescriptions that were reported to cures over the last fiscal year. Also wanted to quickly provide an update on AB 528. There were several changes made under those provisions, and it was AB 528. It was a low bill from statutes of 2019, where there were several changes made to the reporting requirements into the cure system. Many of the changes have been implemented. However, staff was recently advised that some provisions related to the development of provisions for authorized delegates will be delayed. We've been advised by the Department of Justice that it is anticipated that that work will be completed and implementation of those into the cure system will be potentially April of 2021 or 2022. I apologize. However, there is pending legislation that would actually extend out that mandatory implementation date to October of 2022 if it is enacted. The other thing I wanted to provide a quick update on as well are the provisions that were in AB 1751, which was also a low bill, statutes of 2018, that established the authority for the Department of Justice to enter into an agreement with an entity to operate an interstate data sharing hub to facilitate sharing of controlled substances dispensing, for the prescription drug monitoring program. The Department of Justice has reported that there is an implementation date is ongoing. However, they do anticipate that the first phase of implementation could be March 31st of 2022. That does assume that all of the necessary MOUs are in place to allow for the data sharing. Under the proposed rollout, the Department of Justice will focus its first phase of implementation with neighboring states, and again, as a condition of that, they must enter into the MOU. And that's my report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ann, always for your thorough report. Appreciate your time. And any member questions or comments? Hearing none, moderator, please open the line for public comment.
We've opened the Q&A panel. If anybody would like to comment on the executive officer's report, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Our first comment comes from Danny Martinez. Danny, you may open your line.
Real quick, we want to extend our appreciation to
Danny, I'm sorry, this is the moderator. We can barely hear you.
Let me try this again. Can you hear me now?
You sound like you're pretty far away.
How about now?
I think we can make do with that.
We can still hear you. It's yeah.
Hopefully you can hear me. Sorry, I'm driving right now. I just want to extend CPHA's appreciation to Ann Sodergren for all the work she's done as executive officer of the Board of Pharmacy. I know this is an extremely challenging time, and we appreciate all the work that she's done, and we hope that we can provide whatever assistance. I know that she's been very responsive to inquiries we've had about license delays and inspections and all these things that happened during the pandemic. So we just again want to be able to send our appreciation to Ann for all the work she's done.
Thank you, Danny. The feeling is mutual.
And I'm not seeing any further requests for comment. Would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. As indicated on the agenda, we're going into the closed session, agenda item number 13. The board will move into the closed session for the stated purposes indicated on the agenda. Due to technological limitations, adjournment for the day will not be broadcast. Adjournment for the day will immediately follow closed session, and there will be no other items of business discussed. Members of the public, thank you for joining the meeting today. We will reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Members, we will begin closed session in 10 minutes. You should have received email from Debbie Damon. Thank you all, and have a great day.